Right, again, at 7 p.m. It's the Farmington Town Board meeting for June 10th. First thing, pledge of allegiance. Ed, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Be honored to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes.
We do not have any public hearings tonight. Next item on the agenda is approving the minutes of the May 28th Town Board meeting.
So.
Motion by Steve, second by Nate.
I will abstain.
Councilman Casella abstain. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next thing, privilege of the floor. Emily, welcome. Miss Emily Smith, Fisher Associates. And she has a short presentation on the Wood Drive Bridge project, and we'll entertain questions at the end.
That's good, thank you. As he said, I'm Emily Smith with Fisher Associates. We've been retained by the county and the town as the engineer for the Wood Drive Bridge Replacement Project. And we're going to go through an overview of that tonight for all of you. So as by way of introduction, as I said, I'm Emily, and Jesse and Chris are both here with the county, and Liz from DOT was not able to make it today. So there was, a standard for your town meetings to sign in on the way in, but if you could make sure to sign in, especially if you're here in regards to the project specifically, so we have that and can follow up with you as needed, that would be appreciated. And then we're going to talk about the existing conditions, what we're proposing to do as the project scope, and then have an opportunity for some questions. So the existing bridge was built in 1981. It's a 28-foot single span bridge. It's a 24-foot roadway width. It sees about 1,800 cars a day, and it has deteriorated. Those of you who are all local, it's currently closed. But the beams and the abutments and the actual riding surface of the bridge are all in a deteriorated state, looking to be retrofitted and brought up to standards. So as I said, as part of the existing conditions, it is currently closed due to the deterioration of the superstructure on the northbound side. 2 of the beams have been flagged, which means as part of the biennial inspections that the bridges are all subject to as part of the federal and state requirements. The condition of those beams was noted to be in a less than satisfactory condition. And the system the state uses to tell you that is they issue you a flag. And so then you get this flag notification and you get an opportunity to address the flag depending on the severity of different options, but that's the notification system they use. And so the beams you can see in these pictures, have some exposed rebar, the concrete is coming off, you're being able to see that steel on the inside. And the cracking, it's called delamination, and the concrete is falling, and that's the condition that you're able to see if you were to go look at the bridge yourself. The abutments also have several hollow areas, so as concrete starts to deteriorate and not be as structurally sound, if you hit it with a hammer, it sounds hollow. So that's what's happening right now. Is you are detecting some hollow areas. There's efflorescence, which is that white wash look on the concrete, and there's some cracking, and obviously on the top side, the asphalt is just deteriorating as well as normal wear. So the objective of the project is to replace the existing bridge with a new concrete 3-sided box structure founded on a precast invert slab, and a sidewalk will be included in the cross section of the bridge as well. So as part of our process, we look at multiple alternatives. We look at, what if we do nothing? What if we do something else? So, obviously if we do nothing and only do maintenance, the bridge closure is going to continue and probably close to both directions of traffic eventually. There is no sidewalk. So the alternative that we're looking at, restores the bridge condition. It would open up both lanes of traffic. It increases safety for pedestrians as well. In the long term, pedestrian comp plan from the town will provide that sidewalk over the bridge. So this is probably hard to see, but is a cross section of the road. So what you're seeing up on top would be as if you were driving. The black, that darker black color is the asphalt, so you can see the sidewalk just to your left in this section. And then the concrete underneath, carrying the stream. This is a plan view. This is a bird's eye view. If you were on a plane over the road, what the improvements will look like. It is a bridge replacement project, so there's not a lot of proposed highway work. We're trying to obviously minimize any impacts to County Road 41. And then continuing the asphalt improvements basically far enough to tie in with our new cross section. But it's not ultimately a roadway project. The objective of the project is really to replace the bridge. And you can see the sidewalk there on it's the west side on the top of this picture. This is the view if you were in the river and wanted to look at the bridge. This is what it would look like for you. There will be, bridge rail on the top to keep people on the road, as you can see here. This is the proposed detour during construction, so when we actually go to build the new bridge, we will have to close this section of the road completely. The existing structure plus the new structure are not of the kind that we can really provide staged construction. So this is the proposed detour. It does rely right now on this development connection being finished this year. So work to date, we did, we came out and we did design surveys, so we picked up all the existing features, created the maps and the plans. We did the preliminary design, which is what you just saw, put some cost estimates together for that to make sure it was gonna fit within the budget and be affordable for the project, and then did the environmental screenings and the preliminary investigation. So those include screening for threatened and endangered species, mapping of wetlands, beginning the coordinating with permitting agencies. That's all been started and is underway. So our next steps will be to finalize the design based on any feedback we received tonight. Based on that feedback, we will resubmit our engineering report that outlines what we're going to do. The county and the DOT will grant design approval, which allows us to move to the next step. That just says we're good with your preliminary design, you're allowed to put together construction documents. So at that point, we will put together detailed plans, the ones that would eventually go out to bid, as well as the supporting documents that go with them, and obtain the environmental permits. We are working over the water. There are wetlands in the vicinity. Due to the proximity of County Road 41, the county will have, permits for their contractor when work gets going. So we'll get all of that in order. We'll put the job out to bid. It is a project that will get awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. That's how these jobs work. And then we will award the project and go to construction. So from a schedule perspective, we're expecting to get design approval here over the next few weeks. We say July. And then we will have all of the plans finalized and be ready to get approval to go to bid in January. Looking to advertise in February, open bids in March. Is a 28-day or 21-day bid window that's required. We'll open bids, hopefully have favorable pricing, and award and go to construction. It would be in construction next summer, and it would be done in the fall of next year. And with that,
Yeah, Emily, so just for the public's knowledge, New York State DOT is the one that inspects the bridges every 2 years, so we kind of had an idea ahead of time that this was gonna be a yellow condition. We worked with Ontario County for the funding, because there's only so much bridge money available to Ontario County projects. And our town board here, we put more money into the project to make sure that we could get the design and and get the construction progressing. I wish I could have gotten the phone call that the town clerk's office got last week, because somebody told one of the town clerks, that it's a waste of taxpayer money, and no, the bridge is gonna fall in if we don't do anything, so. Yeah, that's the reason we have one lane traffic, it's because the north side, the east side, the northbound traffic is the weakest. And it will be closed sometime this fall, we get ready for the bid and construction process. We don't know when that new link is gonna be completed. Out, which is currently called Quintonshire, we're probably gonna change the name of the road. But it won't be open to public traffic until after the town accepts the road project. And it's dedicated to the town, so it would be a public road. We're hoping, as Emily said, we're hoping that this fall, that'll be available. So that everybody doesn't have to drive all the way through Farmington. Any questions at this time?
I've talked to you on the phone
Yeah, just for
numerous times.
the town clerk's record, just the name and address.
Oh, Brenda Sandy, and I live on Running Brook Road.
Hi, Rennie.
And I actually, I know it's a pain in the butt, but I drive through Farmbrook every morning. When I come home, I go 41 and I go on that bridge. There's been numerous times that, I'll be driving down and here comes a car, they go out that way. So what I've been doing a couple of times a week when I get home is I stop on the bridge. And if there's somebody that wants to come out, I go, nope, go around. And there was a girl that said, well, I just live across the street. I said, well, I have to drive to Macedon and I go around. And she says, well, that's your choice. I said, no, it's one way and it's an entrance, not an exit. And every day I've saw her going out 3 times. I've stopped her twice. I've actually written down her license plate number, the type of car she has, and where she lives. She lives at 5757 Running Brook Road. Her license plate number is KRV 6048. It's Toyota RAV4. I told her numerous times, and she just does not get it. So could a cop please get there at like 5:45 from 6:30, and he would nail this little witch. Because I'm tired of, going the right way, and she thinks she's an entitled little snot that can go out every freaking morning.
I love your attitude.
I will admit I'm a bitch.
I actually did talk to the undersheriff a couple weeks ago, and because the shift changes, the shift does change at 6 o'clock. I actually asked, hey, can the night person hang over and the other person start a little bit early and try and cover that particular spot? And they said they were gonna work on it. And I was listening to the radio yesterday, they did get somebody yesterday afternoon too. I can't tell you how many tickets they wrote, but they had wrote quite a few.
Well, I'll just be happy if this girl gets nailed just once, just to teach her lessons. Don't go out that way. And I'm sure even if she gets a ticket, she'll probably still keep going out that way.
Probably.
And I also was the one that said, why can't we put the strip down where if you go the wrong way, boom, there goes China.
I remember that.
Yeah. Why can't they do that?
So you're gonna have to.
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
Plus,
Anybody online had a question for Emily or the town? Well, once more, anybody online? Any town board members have a bird? Staff? Ron?
Yeah, I would like to compliment the county and Fisher Associates for including sidewalks in this MTOD area. It's part of the program that we're working on, and I appreciate that very much.
One last time, anybody in the room, any questions? All right, Emily, you're off the hook. Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be available within a couple days. We'll have it up on our YouTube for people to visit and review. At this time on the agenda, anything, public concerns? Anybody online, public concerns? Reports of standing committee, public works.
Yeah, public works, we met this morning right here in this room, got our updates from water and sewer and highway and park. I'll start with water and sewer. A lot of ongoing maintenance issues there that we're working on there. They've been cleaning up and organizing the plant. They sent the, wiper cylinder in for repair. They are working, pressing sludge 3 or 4 days and hauling it accordingly. They also flushed the, TF number 1. The seasonal UV disinfectant season that started this month, and they got that up and running and going. A lot of ongoing routine maintenance and quite a few different pump stations and such. They had a water main break on Dalton Drive that they repaired. They've been working on chapter 159 rules and regulations. They got a draft completed and sent it to MRB for review. They completed restoration work on Ivory Drive. They also completed some concrete repairs on Beanpole Circle and Elizabeth Way. They repaired and replaced curb stops on Parkwood. They need we talked about the need for a gate in their storage yard to stop the individuals from dumping in their materials. That's pretty much all. Don't have any resolutions this time, so don't need to talk about that. We'll go right to highway. They've got ongoing maintenance, roadside mowing. Trucks are helping the village of Victor and Candag will pave this week. They did some patchwork or pipe on road crossings, on Wood Drive and Running Brook Road. They milled Allen Badgem Road last week. They swept and milled up around the water valves and stuff on Allen Badgem. For catch basin top on Wood Drive and Running Brook Road. And they took scrap metal to Upco to clean up. The parks are out mowing and trails, doing trails twice a week. Striping ball fields, growing ball fields. They've started striping crosswalks. They cleaned Mertentia Lodge bathrooms. And the buildings, they repaired some electrical problems at the court building. They had the inspections for the sprinkler and backflow. And Doyle installed the cellular dial up at the highway garage. And that's it, pretty much.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Town operations?
Town operations met this morning. We have 5 resolutions on the agenda. The town staff has completed their edit of chapter 159, which is the water and rules regulations. And they'll introduce amendment to the town code at their next meeting and schedule a public hearing in July. They also continuing their review of the text amendments to chapter 144, which is land subdivision. And that's going to be set up for July. They're also working on several text amendments to chapter 165, which is zoning law, and that would be probably introduced in August. Tonight, we're going to be acting on the Town Parks and Recreation Master Plan update. We want to adopt it tonight. The actual master plan has been on the town website. We'll be receiving later on tonight a presentation from the new landowner, Cook Properties of the former Whitestone Center zoning project, so that'll be later. Town Code and Director of Planning and Development will make their reports later on. Pretty much the rest of it is posted on the website.
Thanks, Mike. Reports of other town officials, supervisor. Bear with me here. As we talked about the, Wood Drive Bridge, the sheriffs and New York State Police continue to write tickets. Also, we paid for enhanced traffic stops here in the town. Month of May, there was 4 citations for Route 96, Wood Drive and Hook Road, 1 citation each. County Road 41 and Town Line Road, 2 citations each. Victor Farmington Ambulance, they report, give us an update every month. They had, as of June 1st, 616 calls. It's up 69 calls from last year. Previously, I provided the town board the Ontario County Housing memo, a news release. And I'll make sure that everybody gets a chance to look that over and provide me any feedback that you want on that. Just last week, we got the Excellus, Blue Cross Blue Shield proposed 2025-26 insurance rates. Again, proposed, but they rate the 3 plans we have, 24.57% to 26.37% increase. Hopefully it's going to be approved at a lot less than that. Chapter 159, water rules and regulations, we had passed that off to the engineers, and we're hopefully going to schedule a public hearing on that for July 8th. Our last meeting with Public Works in the town board meeting, our engineers working on a grant to study the drainage at Running Brook Drive and other areas in Farmbrook development. And tonight we do have a resolution that Mike mentioned to apply for a grant to pay for the study, and we look forward to future funding options after the planning grant is complete and hopefully approved. Tomorrow afternoon, I have my two regular committee meetings at Ontario County, Government Operations and Insurance, and Ways and Means Committee. Also have a WebEx on Thursday to approve more small business loans. We call them Eagle loans. They're small business loans of $25,000 or less. And we went through the first batch of money. We were able to obtain another couple $100,000. And my email I got yesterday or the meeting Thursday is that there's enough applications there. If they're all approved, then we'll be out of money again. But it's really been a successful working with Canada National Bank and our Economic Development Committee people to offer these loans to small businesses. One finance comment, the 2026 budget calendar has been developed, staff. Department heads will get your 5-year vehicle capital project list by the end of next week. And then my supervisor department budget guidelines and worksheets will be provided to the departments the week of July 14th. That's all I have. Highway and Parks.
Yeah, a couple things to report on that I reported on last time. We were supposed to be paving Allen Padgham Road. The equipment and weather has delayed things somewhat. I was hoping they'd be here tomorrow, but it doesn't look like it'll start until Thursday. Possibility they may be here maybe early afternoon. Maybe we get started on some of the Hook Road and tie those in the side streets would be nice. And then Thursday we're good to go, and hopefully the weather holds out for next week and finish it up Monday and Tuesday. I also reported last town board meeting that our 2 international trucks were at Viking. I was misinformed. One is there, and the other truck was being delivered from Texas to Harrisville, New York, where Viking Savez is, where we have the body equipment put on, and they crashed the truck. And they totaled it. So that truck was ordered in 2023. And it was just getting delivered now, so that was over 2 years to get the truck. The good news is trucks seem to be back on the before COVID schedules now, where you can order trucks now and you'll get them within 2 to 3 months. So this one is scheduled to be built in August, rebuilt. Will not cost any more money. Any escalation costs or anything will go to the delivery company. I am gonna get a letter from International stating that. I believe we have a resolution on tonight acknowledging that, so. That was not real good news. No, no, nobody seems to know, and I don't even know exactly where it happened. I thought the one salesman told me someplace in Arkansas, but I really don't. I don't know where that was crashed or how it happened. So,
Yeah, so even after it's built in August and maybe delivered within 30 to 60 days, it's gonna sit up there for
right,
months.
so now, you know, before the body companies were waiting for trucks, before when they couldn't get trucks. Now you can get trucks, and now they're so backlogged with all the trucks with the bodies they have to put on. That they're a year or so out before it'll even probably be built. Hopefully, maybe next year. Hopefully see 1 or 2 of them. We do have 4 trucks coming total. 2 that we ordered in the 2023. And then 2 that we ordered this year, but those both should be built. So we'll have 4 trucks up there, and we'll see.
Then I have a dump body or snowplow equipment.
Right. So that is the latest news on the truck.
Thank you. Town clerk?
I have nothing.
All right, water and sewer.
A few things to add to Ron's summary. We're in our billing cycle. Meters have been read. Bills will be going out. And as such, we'll be resuming water meter updates soon. So if anybody in the public gets a door knocker, please answer. We're just trying to update your equipment. We have a lot of old meters out there that need to be replaced. Been working with the town of Victor on some compliance issues with car wash discharges to the system. We're investigating some air conditioning options to replace our broken unit at the treatment facility. Worked with the building department extensively to develop a new residential water meter detail that can be handed out to all the builders and developers so that they are installing the plumbing the way that we need it installed to install our meters. We've been making some process control changes at the treatment plant to both improve our solids handling and save us a little bit of money on chemical cost.
Hey, Aaron, building and zoning.
Last month we did 96 permits, 354 inspections, and 3 fire inspections. We continue to work and upgrade our new software, which was live. A lot of people are having good luck with that online, submitting permits and complaints. Both of those modules are open, and we're receiving all that information in real time now. So,
Thank you. Ed, planning board.
certainly, next meeting, we've got a 90-day extension for Matisse for the installation of driveway apron at the cell tower on Kite Road. We have the Gerlach final subdivision determination of completeness. We have a review of chapter 144 town subdivision regs, and potentially, assuming they get it into us on time, the Brazier final site plan determination of completeness. That'll do it.
All right. Ron, director of planning and development.
Yeah, tonight we have the resolution to adopt the Park and Rec Master Plan. That's been a great effort, community involvement, surveys, public participation, and kudos go to MRV for that great work. We're still waiting on information on the submission of the drawings for sections in Monarch Manor. We're still waiting on the, as Ed said, resolution of the Matisse cellular tower. We've given American Tower 90 days to come up with a surety bond for the tower that's out there. The Victor Farmington ambulance will be delayed a little bit because of the DEC regulations, but hopefully they'll get under construction here later this year and in the next. The town newsletters, working on those agenda items, and they'll be coming out next month, I believe. We've had an inquiry about someone wanting to bury themselves on their property. It's called a backyard cemetery. And this is an issue that has a lot of ramifications that we're beginning to look at and working with the association of towns on. So we'll be having some further discussions on that down the road. Black Brook drainage study, finally going to get off the ground, no pun intended, later this week. And then finally, we continue to work with MRB and the fire department on their design plans for Station 2. So that's, and the other thing is the town ops report was published and posted today on the town website.
Thank you. Bill, town engineer.
Yep, just a couple announcements. Pete, you had mentioned the grant app. So with the CFA consolidated funding application coming up at the end of July, we're working on 3 submissions for the town. This Thursday at 2 p.m., we'll have a pre-bid meeting for Route 332 water main, and a bid opening for that project is scheduled for June 24th. So hoping to have some good participation there. And Cranberry Drive is pending project that should start construction pretty soon. Probably within the next day or two, we'll be scheduling that pre-con. And then I know we talked about maybe having a public informational meeting, Pete, advise the residents in the area when it comes closer to disruption. So.
Thank you. No association tonight. The bar, I think, is still scheduled to meet tomorrow, I think, Thursday. And finalize everything there. No historian tonight. Recreation, last Saturday, the summer rec employees were here getting their mandatory training and guidance. And everybody's looking forward to the 6 weeks of summer rec. Advisory committee, nobody else gonna be here tonight. Next thing on the agenda, communications are on file, reports and minutes are on file. Resolutions, first resolution, moving the planning board number 5 for the primary contractor for the town hall renovation project. So we'll back any questions there. And it's just a little over $4,100. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of monthly report for the supervisor for May.
So move. Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Ron. Any questions there? All in favor? Aye. 3 is a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign the proposal for professional services from MRB for assistance preparing the submission of a grant application to New York State DEC for MS4 inspections and mapping.
Second.
Motion by Nate, second by Mike. And we just discussed that a couple minutes ago. All in favor?
Aye.
Or is resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign proposal for professional services from MRB, preparing the submission of a grant application for the New York State DEC grant to study stormwater runoff.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mike, second by Ron. And again, we're gonna try and concentrate in that area. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Five is a resolution authorizing payment to Catalyst Plus for the ADA compliant website review and implementation. Renee, second by Steve, any questions there? All in favor? Aye. Six, resolution confirming the consolidation of Ellsworth Water District Extension Number 2 into the Canandaigua Farmington Water District for the 2026 tax roll.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Ron, and what this is the Ellsworth Water District Extension is totally paid for now. And so that will go into the Canandaigua Farmington Water District for tax purposes in 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Seven is a resolution authorizing town contributions to the HSA program.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Nate. Right, so it ranges depending on what program they're in, it ranges from $1,750 to $3,000 twice a year. All in favor?
Aye.
Eighth resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign the intermunicipal agreement for temporary sharing of a code enforcement officer with the village of Victor.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Mike. Again, this is normally for just emergency purposes. They are short of code enforcement officers, so we also agreed to try and give them somebody on Wednesdays if they have applications. Any questions?
Just to let the board know, we're in the village of Victor right now with our fire marshal, so he just got called, about 10 minutes ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Nine's resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust. Moved by Ron, second by Steve. Any questions there? All in favor?
Aye.
Ends the resolution documenting the reordering of the 2025 HP International with Viking equipment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Ron. This is the truck that Tim was just talking about. We'll wait to see when we get that one. All in favor?
Aye.
11 is a resolution of the Town of Farmington Town Board to adopt the 2025 to 2035 Town of Farmington Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
So moved.
First by Nate, second by Steve. Again, this has been a long process. We try to update them every 8 to 10 years. We really appreciate not only the staff, but Susan Charlin is the chairperson of the committee and everybody that served on the committee was great help and a lot of feedback that MRB could put that plan together. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Follows the resolution accepting the final reports from Michael Metzer for the justice courts and the town clerk for the tax year 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Mike. Again, these are the year-end audits for town clerk and the justice courts. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
13th resolution, Sean Murphy, successful completion of probationary period. Move.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Mike. And this grants Sean $1 per hour rate increase effective payroll number 13. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Sean. 14, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sign the service order form for Verizon Connect.
So moved.
Motion by Mike, second by Ron. So what this is, we already have Verizon systems in our vehicles, especially the heavy vehicles. This is going to add forward-facing cameras to the 10 plow trucks in the highway department and some of the heavy trucks in water and sewer. The initial is a trial run. The initial, we're gonna do 14 vehicles, but this resolution authorizes to go up to 20. Then we'll just go from there. They also in the future, this is a part of a GSA contract, a federal contract. In the future, they will probably offer backward facing cameras and side cameras. They offer it on the commercial side, but not on the Genesee, not on the GSA federal contract. Any questions there? All in favor? Aye. 15 is a resolution, this is abstract 11 to pay the bills. General fund, $70,134.35. Highway fund, $7,469.06. Cranberry Drive water line, $2,875. Cranberry Drive Road, $2,875. Town Hall capital project, $29,289.60. Water tank repair, $11,088.33. Storm drainage, $7,616.55. Lighting district, $1,109. Sewer district, $83,521.88. Water district, $18,264.71. Payroll deductions, $18.34. Total abstract to pay the bills, $234,261.82. Motion, please. Motion by Steve, second by Nate. And any abstentions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. We do have, training here listed for, nursing secretary. And then that's a cost not to exceed $45. We have 2 items of discussion. So we do have, Jess Sedell here and Mr. Cook. And you want Jess or do? I want that with the project here.
Is essentially saying this on the screen. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. My name mentioned is Jess Sudol from Pastor Associates. I'm sure most of you recognize me, being here several times. Last year with me this evening is Mr. Jeff Cook from Cook Properties, who is now the applicant. Last year, we spent quite some time reviewing an application that was brought forward by Whitestone Development that looked similar to this, but wasn't the same as this. And at that time, we spent a lot of evenings here discussing seeker density, potential impacts, concerns that the board had. I thought we did a pretty good job of collectively working through those and eventually getting to a project that the board ultimately approved in August of last year. Unfortunately, due to a number of external factors that you've all heard before, whether it be construction pricing or rental rates or what have you, essentially the numbers didn't work. So Whitestone walked away from the project. They had the land under contract, let the contract expire, and no longer had any involvement. Of course, the land remained for sale because the owner is certainly not interested in holding on to it, which is why he was considering selling it to Whitestone in the first place. That's when Mr. Cook and his company stepped in to potentially move the project forward. When I must call you Jeff, not Mr. Cook.
Jeff, whatever, either one, Jeff is fine.
Yeah, I get called Jeff all the time. Jeff, when he came to see me, I was a little bit concerned, knowing how, close the vote was and some of the concerns that this board had. And said, Jeff, what's your vision or idea here? Because, certainly trying to add anything to this is gonna potentially be problematic. And, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's another project actively going through approvals in Canandaigua. That's, I believe it's mixed use and has a lot of single family lots that Mr. Cook's involved in. So he's gotten to know and understand the market and the market demands very well. And one of the things that we've realized from our own research and experiences is that there's a pretty significant demand for homes for seniors, whether those be rentals, whether those be houses, but the senior aging population, as is the case everywhere in the country. So Jeff had the idea of looking at this a little bit differently as what we might call an age in place concept, where you have a number of different types of living units that you can potentially graduate to over the course of time. So in this case, you might start with a single family home, then go to one of the townhome style units, and then we also have a independent senior living building that we're showing, which would be the probably the oldest portions of the population. And just to recap, as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that I haven't even summarized what the proposed uses are, but similar to the Whitestone proposal, we do have a good number of townhome style rental units. Those are the 10-unit buildings that you see kind of here in the center in a very similar orientation to what was previously proposed, with one of the main differences being a slight reduction in density. We were approved for 280. We're now down to 270. Another significant change was the inclusion of single family home lots or regular for sale homes. A proposal I believe this board saw, an earlier iteration of this, had a much denser single family proposal with almost 70 lots. Now there's about half that at 37. We still have the storage component up on County Road 41, with the idea being that in addition to servicing the community, you could also pick up on the demand from this project, whether it be from the single family homes or from the townhomes, all of which have ample interior space for storage. But if somebody needed a rental storage unit, those would be right there. The scope and size of that portion of the project has been reduced, again, by about half of what was originally proposed. The frontage along 332 is near identical to what was previously brought before this board, with the one noteworthy change being on the northwesternmost portion of the project. So right up here, I don't know where to point that everyone can see best, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, thanks, whoever's driving. Kept the exact same configuration of what was previously there, but instead of being a hotel, changed that to senior living. And quite frankly, not just the demand for hotels, but the business model for hotels and hospitality has never fully recovered from when they got hit really hard during COVID. So there's not many people out there building and doing hotels. We have 4 that passed what was gotten approved in the last year, where we have signed Mylars and letters of credit and everything. They're not moving forward with construction because nobody wants to finance a hotel these days. But there is a demand for senior living, which is why that change was made. So the first thing I said to Jeff was, Jeff, there was concerns about density the first time around. Even though we're reducing the townhome density, we are adding in the single family component, which is a lot less dense on a per acre basis, but does, at the end of the day, add some more units to what was originally proposed. So that's when we got into, well, let's look at our past approvals and secret determination. I want to just ask a question, you can just nod, but did everyone, you guys should be asking Ron, did our letter dated June 3rd from Zena Lagenegger in our office?
Yes.
She's our seeker expert, but Zena and her team at Pastoral put together a thorough review of basically asking ourselves the question, well, what is too dense? Oftentimes density is perception. A lot of times it's regulated by zoning, as it should be. But too dense is, in our minds, when the number of units proposed starts having significant environmental impact. That can be in terms of green space, in terms of traffic, that could be water or sewer, impact to wetlands, any number of things. But the incentive zoning approval essentially said, any future proposal needs to be in general compliance with the environmental or secret findings that were made as part of this project. That's what we did, is a thorough analysis to say, look, there's enough water and sewer capacity that was confirmed by the town engineer. The traffic's a little bit different, but the mitigation that was previously proposed still amply, or still offsets it to an ample degree. There's really been no change there. There has been some modifications to the green space, but again, there is a lot of green space inside those single family lots. It's just a house and a driveway. Our village green did shrink a little bit in width, but it's still a significant size. It was previously almost 500 feet across, which is, you know, anyone can do math, almost 2 football fields. Now it's about 300 feet across the one. So it's still really big, and that's the north-south way, not even the longer distance. So we still have a significant village green. Some of the changes that we made since this board saw a different iteration of this was really reducing density on those single family homes. We had a lot of lots that did not have ample backyards. If you wanted to put a shed or a pool or something, we got rid of those lots. We also made the lots wider. They were previously 60 feet to now 75 feet. That really does 2 things for us. One, it gives us more flexibility on potential ranch style homes, which tend to be more attractive to seniors, which is where we're seeing a lot of the demand. And it also allows us to widen the driveway so that we can fit more cars in the driveways, where now we can actually fit 4 to 6 cars in each driveway plus the garage. So you're talking about 6 or 7 vehicles per lot, which is, you know, not insignificant. And then in addition to that, we still provided some overflow parking, so no parking on the streets is a big concern here locally. So in addition to having a lot of parking for each individual lot, we also have overflow parking should that ever be needed if someone has, you know, a bunch of people over on the Sunday or something like that. The other change that we made, due to concerns about potential impact to the town recreation facilities, was the inclusion of the walking trail around the perimeter that then goes around this multi-purpose field that we added behind the clubhouse. So that that's big enough that you could have a full-size soccer field or football field there if anyone wanted to do that, those living in the community. It still would be all the same incentives that were previously offered. So whereas that was a restriction for the developers where they couldn't make the numbers work, with the inclusion of the changes that I've discussed, Mr. Cody and his team are now confident that they'd be able to actually build this project, whereas the previous developer did. But again, we went through, I'm not gonna restate everything in this letter because everyone has seen it. But, you know, I think we've taken a hard look at all the potential seeker impacts. In terms of, is this too dense to show that they don't have any significant environmental impact that wasn't already considered as part of the original seeker? Jeff, anything you'd like to add on?
No, that's perfect. You got everything.
Thanks, Jeff. First we'll go to the staff. Comments?
Jeff, can you expand upon that multi-purpose area, the field? Is that something that is limited just to the residents of the project, or would this be something that other sports organizations could use to benefit needs in the community as well as needs here in the project?
Sure. So it's not going to be advertised and used for like the Town of Victor soccer club. Doesn't it? Not gonna have bleachers and lights and restroom facilities to that degree. But if, you know, there was people from the community that came and used it, you know, for a birthday party or something, that wouldn't be a big deal. So it's not meant to be a like full blown, you know, youth sports type facility. You know, it'll probably be constructed to that degree. Most of those fields are just a regular field anyway. But due to insurance requirements and requirements of the different youth sports organizations, that's not really.
I sent you earlier today a couple of questions and I asked you to be prepared to answer tonight. You want to address those, please?
Sure. So one of them was, what is the unit breakdown in the townhome buildings? They each have 10 units. They're the same as they were previously presented. We haven't made any changes. There's, in each of those, there's 3 1-bedroom units, 5 2-bedroom units, and 2 3-bedroom units. And I believe your other question was, what was the acreage of the residential portion of it? The total acreage is 45 acres, that's split into 30 for the townhomes, and 15 for the single family. So the average density of the residential area, believe it or not, actually I had to do the math myself, because I didn't believe it at first, is lower than the original proposal. You draw a line around what's residential now versus what's residential. Now, of course, that's the density of the townhomes is almost identical, but when you include the single family, which of course has a much lower density on a per acre basis, the overall density is a few tenths less than what was previously presented. Those numbers are all better, I guess. Went from 6.7 to 6.3.
Those townhouses are 2 floors,
Yes,
and when you rent the townhouse, you rent both floors to one person, or is it rented separately? Can you rent top and bottom to different people?
yes, you can remember that.
You can do that.
Yes,
So you can rent this top floor to someone else and then the bottom floor to another person.
right, but every one has
That's not
their,
really a townhouse thing.
well, we call them townhomes because they have their own individual garage, private entries, and driveway. The townhome definition in our world, different everywhere we go, so I get it.
There is a definition across the United States, that's not the definition. So that concerns me because it's a lot of rental units that, you know, it's not what you're portraying it as. Something about.
And like I said, that was the case last time. Point taken.
Jess, could you explain how the occupants of the second floor townhomes gain access to their units?
Sure, so they would pull into their garage. And there's a door that goes to a small vestibule with a staircase that then goes up. When they get to the top, there's a door, they walk right into their unit. There's no, we would call it a double loaded corridor type building where you have a corridor with entrances to units on either side. There's none of that. It's individual entries, no common spaces. No elevator, nothing.
Thank you.
Is the senior 75 unit complex, is that somewhere similar in design to what's going on in the village of Victor?
I'm not intimately familiar with the Victor project, but I believe so. It is one of those double load quarter buildings. The reason for that is there are a lot of amenities in those buildings for the seniors, whether it be computer rooms or exercise rooms or places they can take classes. And you don't want them having to walk outside to access those amenities. So that's more of your traditional apartment building.
What is it 55 and up?
Yes, that's generally the definition. It's hard to think of 55 as a senior, but that's been used in our industry for so long.
And I know you said you're not familiar with village of Victor, but they do have like underground parking.
Oh, it's a first style building?
Floor
Yeah,
parking.
no, that's not proposed. That's usually done in much denser areas where.
Yeah, their site in Victor was very, very small, and they had grade level parking on the ground levels. We have more land here, where we can do surface parking. I guess I'm not opposed to the addition of the senior living facility. I don't like the fact that it's being shown again with right on 332. We only have so much commercial frontage on 332. Senior living isn't something that needs high visibility, so.
How many floors
I
is
guess-
that building?
It's fairly famous, or which is the same as the hotel, but.
And I mean, I was against this project the last time around, so I was one of the neighbors, so. The density is better, I think, on the interior, but again, I don't like losing that commercial pad on 332. So I'm not saying it has to be a hotel, but I mean, that kind of land, again, is a high visible parcel.
the senior living could be brought into that and maybe reduce some of the townhomes.
If you don't mind, which is gonna be hard for the people online. If we were to split this lot, something like this. And maybe keep this as commercial on 332. And then look at possibly put a senior building on the back half. That start to address your concern.
I mean, again, yeah, it definitely would. It's not something that needs, you're not gonna put a big billboard on senior living, it's,
No, when people sign a lease, they know where they live.
yeah, it's, so.
Well,
I didn't realize the last time under Whitestone that, you know, my definition or our town definition of townhome is very up and down. So I understand the same design as under Whitestone. It just is, if Nate was saying all along, I was, oh no, the townhomes, Nate was really correct. They're more apartments, more apartments. I think that
and I apologize for any miscommunication there. We do these buildings a lot all over the East Coast, and we always refer to them as townhome style. Because when you drive by them, they look like townhomes. But I get what you're saying. I don't disagree.
I know I was, had a concern on the parking on town roads, the extra parking. Yeah. Overflow. Doesn't really want to see that, correct?
Well, I mean, that's not something we would take care of. I mean, we'd plow the road. I wouldn't want to be responsible for, having to clean the turnarounds out too.
Yeah, if
So I'd like to not see that. I don't know. We always want extra parking because we want to keep the cars off the street. But, when we go by, we're just gonna go straight across.
totally not the first time I've heard that.
Right.
I get it.
And then the fact that you got them in front of single family homes, or maybe people from someplace else will be parking there that they don't even know
Yeah.
in their front yard.
That's it, we're very flexible on how that could be solved.
Okay, I mean,
If we were
that's
to get
all
the-
something that could be worked out in planning stage.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, which I quite possibly am, but what we're asking the board for is to essentially say, this is close enough to what was previously approved and falls under the thresholds of seeker, not necessarily asking for an approval. Is that true?
Was the nature of your seeker letter, yes.
And that's the way the approval read originally, was that anything that's gonna move into site plan approval, if there are changes, there were changes, it'd have to be reviewed by this board to say, look, it's not the same, but it's close to what it was, and it doesn't trigger any kind of secret. Why we're here.
We would still have to go through the whole process to amend the zoning, correct?
Yeah, you
Still
have
go
to
through.
redefine the permitted uses, the densities, the whole 9 yards. Similar to what we're gonna be getting for Farmington Market Center. They have made some changes to their plans, so they will be coming back to us. Not to change the subject, but before I forget it, talk to me about the best pocket parks that you're showing.
Oh, right there. Well, that's where we introduced another roadway going north-south because of, basically provide better access. And I can't think of the other word I'm trying to say, but, which leaves some additional green space, so rather than just have it end up being potentially unmaintained or unused. A lot of times we put in what we call a pocket park, which is a very broad definition. It could be a lot of different things, but generally it means a small park area, maybe it has a swing set with 2 benches. Maybe it just has a small playground area with the fall zone protection. And we don't know exactly what that would be, but there's an opportunity there to have something. Now, of course, we have a home right there. We don't want to necessarily be, having people making a commotion right to a single family home. But that was more of an idea than anything. If someone were to say, look, I don't like that we would delete that with green space / snow storage. Which is perfectly fine.
Yeah, from the town's perspective, we're just concerned about down the road that becoming a town obligation at some point. And
Yeah, no, there's no desire to keep that regulated.
okay,
Hopefully less about the town obligation, but complaints.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is what we're gonna see.
And you might maybe just increase the widths of the homes.
We have a lot of green space in other maybe more appropriate areas that we could direct people to.
so Jess, you would see a homeowners association or some entity maintaining the stone dust or the blacktop trail bike proposal.
So that all falls on the called the 10-unit buildings property. I don't want to call townhomes. We're gonna have staff in the clubhouse on site, and not necessarily 24/7, but close to it. So they're gonna maintain that the same way they're gonna maintain the private roads and the private storm sewer system.
Okay,
They're gonna maintain the pond.
Ron, we did the same thing in Canandaigua, when everyone was pretty happy with that, where, as Jess just explained, those common areas were made part of the apartment building's ownership. And then our management company would maintain those. And we put that right in, we're putting that right into the property deeds.
the deeds for,
For the townhouse buildings.
so they're gonna be for sale, not for rent?
The deed, no, our deeds.
One single
Yeah,
deed for
yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah, one single, so.
Okay.
No, there'll be rental, but, similar again to what we did in Canandaigua.
Okay,
They would be maintained by the association, but open to the entire community or restricted to
Yes,
restricted?
no, sorry, maintained by the townhome properties ownership, but open to the single family homes and like the senior buildings also. I assume the same thing would apply to the clubhouse and pool and.
Correct,
Yeah,
yep.
so all the amenities would be available to everybody, regardless of what property. We might ultimately end up doing that with an easement or something of that nature, or through a deed.
Yes, Adrian.
Have you built these buildings before somewhere? The
Uh,
townhomes or whatever we're calling right now, have you built them?
Me or Jess.
You, everybody,
We've done
have you built it like it
probably between 8,000 and 10,000 of them.
local?
Yeah, so Henrietta, Webster, Reese, Enfield.
Local?
I'm trying to think if I think there are some in Victor.
So everything's Monroe County right now is what you're telling me?
We'll have to drive by all those places to get home and try that.
I didn't know.
I think there is a project in the village of Victor that has these buildings, but I want to verify before I say it. And then I can let Ron know and share with everybody, but.
Any other questions?
I mean, I have other stuff to bring up, but it's not for tonight.
Yeah.
You just
No doubt.
being on the planning board and stuff. But let it go through the process.
And that's the reason those buildings are so popular, because people who can, for whatever reason, get a mortgage, can still live in a unit that feels, I know it doesn't meet certain definitions, but it feels like your own home. So they tend to do really well, which is why we've done so many.
and the lack of a common entrance and your own private entrance is what really lends to what Jess is saying, it makes it more townhome-y.
Yeah, you don't have people going up and down the hallway.
Right, yeah.
Any final questions? Comments?
I don't like the apartment sign, I don't like it now. Nothing's changed on that.
Any objection of the senior?
Similar to Steve's, I feel like that would be more suited, maybe tucked in. Get rid of most of, not only apartments, but the senior back there, some single family homes, and then keep the commercial on 332.
Alright. You still have people online?
I believe so. Yes, you do.
Anybody have any questions online? One more time, anybody have questions online? All right, we thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, got one other item for discussion. Villager construction, on this property, and they currently have a grading permit. And they wrote to us and asked that, from time to time that we allow after 7 o'clock at night for the, dumping of material. They currently have a construction project on this way. And, talked with Dan, they haven't had any complaint lately. They had one when they were cutting trees, it was a little early in the morning.
Yep.
One time, but
They had complaints before they had first got the grading plan for doing just that. For working after hours and trucks backing up, beep beeping late at night, keeping the residents up. So yes, we have had complaints. And that's why the planning board put the specific hours on there that everybody else lives. Because of the resident who was also here who complained heavily.
So that was before the grading permit and
Yep.
everything. We stopped them. They followed the process and got the grading permit. And the planning board did put that on there because we did have people here saying they need to work within our.
Can you reference something about working in conjunction with throughway construction was going? That's what they're trying to do.
Which
We
I
knew
they
that.
brought that up multiple times.
No, my question was the way they reference it. Is their project somehow, are they working alongside the throughway or just because the throughway is doing it, they want?
No, they're
their
doing the
project?
throughway project.
Throughway.
They're the workers
they
on,
are the contract.
they're the contractor.
Yeah, but is this project? And it's at night.
Yes.
The trucks is
The
probably.
Lewis Road project that they want the variance for, is that in any way in conjunction with the throughway or they just have the same crew?
Well, other than it's the same company doing it.
That's, yeah, they're building their building on Limits Road. But they also have the throughway project.
That was my question. The
So-
way they referenced, it almost seemed like their construction was somehow mingling with the throughway construction because the property's backed up to each other.
No,
It's just
That's not
convenience.
happening.
Yeah, it's convenience for them because they're right there off the throughway.
That was my question is if it was somehow the work they were doing had to be done in conjunction with the throughway work, it would make sense. The way they referenced it, that was what they seem to imply. That is not.
No.
They're totally separate projects. They're not
Totally
like
separate
They
project.
have to move equipment onto this site or through the
Right.
throughway or anything like that.
I mean, this is pretty simple to me. We were having complaints for the permit. They got the permit. We're given hours to work within. We don't get the complaints. But why would we extend the hours?
We got the complaints again.
Open it back up to.
Well,
Is
We brought it up to say,
Exactly.
do you need more? Why? And then, but everybody was complaining, so we asked them, you know. Okay, well, if we gave you 9 o'clock, but even then, they're like, no, we need more. I'm like, well, that's not gonna happen when people are already complaining and you didn't even have permits.
There are houses up here.
There are two basic issues in my mind. The grading permit is there to grade so that they can do their building and all the rest. they don't need extended hours for the grading permit. What they need extra hours for is for the construction hold site where they are moving materials to and from the throughway to do the contract that they're doing there. That's not at this time part of the grading permit per se, because they said they're not gonna do it. It's already screened and everything else. Those hours, I think anyway, are for that experience or that project as opposed to the grading permit. I think we're confusing the two. And we just didn't want anything to do with anything after 7 because of the complaints we had had prior to.
There will be more complaints though if you extend it past 7 o'clock.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Those trucks are not quiet.
Oh, no.
They're not.
And they're right in their,
Man on it.
theoretically right in their backyard.
I know.
I mean, they said they're using the western most, entrance, but it's not that far away.
That's
Yeah,
the
it's
entrance
not
they were
like-
using before they had all the permission.
Yeah, it's exactly where they were having the complaints from before.
So we had that with the worm farm when they were pulling in stuff. And it was like a truck every 10 minutes, 65 down there, pushing people around on the road, because I got pushed off the road by one of those trucks.
Yeah,
They do wanna get out there,
Pardon?
they do wanna get onto that property,
Yeah.
they're using it for their throughway work,
They do, yes.
to store material.
And the throughway work is typically done after hours. And
Can't
they,
control the throughway work.
yeah, they have to do it after hours, so they have to find a place to locate it somewheres and then remove it during the daytime hours to their site. It's inconvenient as hell for them. But it is the nature of them deciding to use that site for that type of work. Even if it is GI. There's still residents there. I mean, I'm just trying to clear it up, so.
I don't know.
I think you're gonna open Pandora's box, but you do what you gotta do.
Planning board wouldn't support that, I can tell you that right now. I guarantee that.
So they're one across the planning board.
Well, you could cross the planning board, I'm just telling you where the planning board came down specifically, I could not have gotten the votes. For this project at all with change it out, I guarantee.
We, as a board here, we're not supposed to influence you, but we can still blame you.
Blame us, that's fine.
9 o'clock, you said you offered 9 o'clock, which is a little later than normal. Reasonable for most of the neighbors to be like, if the noise is done by 9, we're okay. And they turned that down, so we kind of off the olive branch, they knew this was the situation, they rejected it, so
They'll have,
they've created a problem, they
Yeah.
can figure it out.
It's a problem.
they'll have to find another site to take their millings to, that's all.
Exactly, and they have been doing that, I hate to say that, up until now,
Yeah, the gravel,
because they've been doing the work, they've just been storing it somewhere else.
gravel put on corner roading.
Yeah, wherever they're putting it somewhere.
All right,
And this is not something that has never come up before when they're doing this kind of work.
Correct.
It's nothing brand new.
Sounds like it's-
Alright, okay.
I think it's interesting, they came to you guys instead of to us, since we, but it is what it is.
Can I clarify that point? And that is in the past where there have been extensions
Of our,
of hours of operation, it has been granted or denied by the town board, not the planning board. You set the rules for hours of operation. And if there's any variance to that, you're the board to deal with it, not the planning board.
no,
yep,
I'm just clarifying it.
all right. Well, I'm next move around. Nothing for waiver of the rules, no executive session, anything else we brought before the board tonight? Anybody online? Anything we brought to the board?
we could almost.
So, yeah, have a motion and a second. We're adjourned, all in favor? I think we could predict that.